Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Edith Gutierrez, and I'm going to present this research, and the title is Gamification Tools and the Learning of the Subject of Mathematics in Students of the First Cycle of Systems Engineering. The professors who are involved in this research are Cesar León Velarde, Guillermo Morales Pastor, Silvia Fernández Flores, and Edith Elvira Gutiérrez Subieta. I'm going to explain a little bit the abstract of this research. The proposed research seeks to develop the relationship between gamification tools and learning the subject of mathematics and systems engineering students. It's developed through the quantitative approach from a correlational approach. The method developed is pure experimental type, in which a control group and another experimental group are used to whom an instrument is applied before the manipulation of variables after applying the treatment to one of the groups a post-test is applied. There was a population of 180 students and a non-probabilistic sample of 28 students distributed in an experimental group. The survey technique was used to measure the variables and the questionnaire was used as an instrument, which was validated by means of expert judgment and reliability by means of the Kuder-Richardson 20 statistics. The descriptive statistics yielded favorable results in the mean. The inferential statistics allowed us to prove favorably that gamification tools influence learning in the area of mathematics and first cycle system engineering students. Introduction. In the present context of a global world in which technological advances predominate, where technology and especially the use of the internet in its different forms continue to change, the way society develops with respect to work, communication, and also the educational system. Therefore, the teaching place must be transformed into a different environment of active knowledge, a moment where the participant takes advantage of the information provided through the new technologies and is given the opportunity to acquire them even when the participant has limitations of different types. The question arises, what is the relationship between gamification tools and the learning of the subject of mathematics in students of the first cycle of systems? Background literature review state of the art. According to Zavaleta 2021, gamification techniques are one of the main pillars that have shown the best results in higher education institutions. In this way, a program of teaching strategy was developed through gamification tools in such a way that professional competencies were strengthened. This was developed in the interdisciplinary support of systems engineering programs. What was developed was an action research through the survey instrument that managed to reach the perception of 24% of those who make up the student community and was translated into 66 students. As a result, it was found the need to update the methods in the institutions dedicated to education in accordance with the competencies that technology provides. For Hernandez Ramos, 2018, in his study on gamification within the university where he evaluates the use of a preparate methodology with gamified teaching using the Kahoot tool, in the case of higher education for which smartphones play an important role. A non-experimental research of descriptive scope and the use of an electronic questionnaire to 241 students is proposed. As a result, the relevance of the students is obtained by assessing said tool through a self-evaluation. Materials and methods methodology. Research approach, the approach is quantitative, as I mentioned before. The scientific method, yes, hypothetical deductive, will be used since it begins with the identification and formulation of the problems, objectives, and hypotheses. Then the research instruments are elaborated and applied to the sample. The data are obtained and statistically processed for hypothesis testing. The type of research will be experimental. So in this sense, it is oriented to demonstrate the effectiveness of teaching with gamified tools. Research design. The design used in the research is the pre-experimental, specifically the so-called before and after design with an experimental group. Is useful to determine if there were changes in the behavior of the individuals in the sample between their initial state measured by the pre-test or entry test and the subsequent situation measured by the post-test or exit test. Experimental group. The gamified tools will be applied to this group to verify the use of this technology. The following table shows the design that will be used. To test the hypothesis will be used students' t-test. The purpose of the post-test will be to establish, to set up if significant differences are generated in the group at the end of the experimentation. If the use of gamified tools is successful, there should be statistically significant differences in the group. Population. The population of universe is made up of all the students of the fifth cycle of systems engineering students of the Universidad Nacional Federico Villarreal, which are approximately 100 students. The sample. The sampling technique to be used is non-probabilistic, intentional. According to Hernandez, the non-probabilistic or directed sample is a subgroup of the population in which the choice of the elements doesn't depend on probability but on the characteristics of the research. Observation cards, written exams, pre-test and post-test. The statistical treatment, which will allow describing the data, values, or scores obtained for their interpretation. Descriptive statistics will be used for the figures and statistical tables and inferential statistics for hypothesis tests. The statistical procedure. The reliability of trustworthiness of the instruments will be tested if they are useful for the purpose and to apply them in the research. The reliability of the instruments will be tested using the KR20 statistic, Coder-Richardson 20, since they are the autonomous instruments that measure performance. The hypothesis test will be carried out using the parametric student's statistic because the sample is smaller than 30 and the data are quantitative. In order to contrast the hypothesis, a comparison will be made of the averages or means of the scores achieved in the experimental group. The statistic to be applied will be the parametric one. Here we can appreciate the chart, yes, in which we have put here the elaboration of the proposal. This is the table 1, as you can see here, and this is the table 2. So the reliability of the instruments. The reliability criterion of the instruments is determined by the K-Richardson 20 coefficient. It requires only one administration of the measuring instrument, and it's applicable in knowledge tests or when the instrument has dichotomous items in which there are two possible answers. As you can see, we also have table number 2, yes, in which we can see the reliability criteria values according to Guilford. Comment, the result obtained for the Coder-Richardson 20 coefficient is equal to 0.721. This means that the instrument presents high reliability because it's on the 0.61 to 0.80 scale. Therefore, this instrument presents internal consistency. Reliability for the exit test. The exit test instrument was applied to a pilot sample of 10 students of systems engineering of the first cycle in order to see the mastery in the area of mathematics. This is table 4, so we can appreciate here also the statistic. The comment, the result obtained for the K-Richardson coefficient is equal to 0.769. This instrument has a high reliability because it's on the 0.61 to 0.80 scale. Therefore, the instrument presents internal consistency and it's applicable. The presentation and analysis of results. The application of the baseline and exit test of the experimental group. As you can see, table 5 is the result of the application of the baseline and exit test of the experimental group. In table 6, the evaluation results, so we can see the experimental group of students of the first cycle of system engineering. Commentary. It is observed that the average of the start evaluation of the experimental group was 7.17, poor, and the average of the exit evaluation was 16.14, good, which shows the favorable influence in the learning of the mathematics area with the gamification tools in the first cycle system engineering students. According to figure 1 that we can see here, you can observe in the exit or post-test the difference of means that there is between the students of the 5th grade of the experimental group, which is 16.14, compared to the starter entry, which was 11.54 in terms of the average of the 2 tests administered to the group. Also, we can see here table number 8 or table 8, statistics of the dependent variable learning in the area of mathematics. Normality test. Before performing the respective hypothesis test, we will first determine if there is a normal distribution of the data, parametric statistics or not. Example, a free distribution, non-parametric statistics. For this purpose, we will use the Shapiro-Wilk normality test. Also, we can appreciate here table number 9. To determine if the distribution of our sample data is parametric, we have to establish hypothesis O, the data come from a normal population, and hypothesis 1, the data do not come from a normal population. Hypothesis testing. The statistical method to test the hypothesis was the comparison of means and students T, because it's a test that allowed measuring quantitative aspects of the answer obtained from the instrument administered and measuring the influence that exists of the 2 study variables with respect to the other. Here we can appreciate the general hypothesis test, hypothesis statement, confidence level, significance level. According to the result of the obtained processing, the calculation of the obtained test and critical statistics is performed from the data obtained by the independent groups, control and experimental, in the output, from where we obtain the value of T obtained equal 20.4, value obtained from the sample data. And the value of critical test, which has a value here, and it was obtained from the students table with 0.25% of significance level for 2 tails. Discussion. The results of the research demonstrate a significant influence of gamified tools that significantly impact on the ability to reason and argue mathematical ideas in the area of mathematics in the students of systems engineering of the first cycle. The results of the research demonstrate the effectiveness of the gamified tools, given that in the entrance test, the average is equal to 11.53, and in the exit test, it is 16.14. In such a sense, the students, when using the gamified tools, present a better level of learning. Conclusions. Based on the results obtained, it was concluded at a 95% confidence level that the use of gamification tools has a significant impact on learning in the area of mathematics in first cycle systems engineering students, as demonstrated by the contrast of hypotheses and the discussion of results. Based on the first specific hypothesis of the research, it is concluded at a 95% confidence level that the application of gamification tools has a significant impact on the ability to mathematize situations in the area of mathematics and systems engineering students of the first cycle, as demonstrated by the contrast of hypotheses and the discussion of results. The third conclusion is that based on the second specific hypothesis of the research, it is concluded at 95% confidence level that the application of gamification tools has a significant impact on the ability to communicate and represent mathematical ideas in the area of mathematics in a first cycle system engineering students, as demonstrated by the contrast of hypothesis and the discussion of results. Thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you.